Making some progress on the Brabant Farms farm truck, and I thought I'd show you a little bit about what's going on. Got the alternator all in. I got it charging. I was wrong. It's not a one-wire alternator, so I had to use the voltage regulator that was there, and I'll show you a little bit about what's going on and what I'm about to do next. So I've got a battery charger on it just because this battery was pretty low, and actually it was flat this morning, which I wonder if that was the voltage regulator that pulled it down, because nothing else was different, and it was holding a charge before, so I don't know. But I'm getting like 13.3 volts now when it's running, and it is charging. And what I found, I changed the alternator, and then it still wasn't charging. And I actually found that some of these terminals were actually really rusty, and that's why it wasn't working. So for all I know, the other alternator might have been just fine. Took some sandpaper to those rusty terminals, and it fired up and started charging right away. And the gauge in the dash is actually working, so that kind of surprised me. So that's done, but check this out. Got some really interesting wiring to talk about. Look at this. So we've got speaker wire for one, but that's not the most cool part about it. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a fuse that somebody actually soldered wires onto the fuse to make a fusible link for the voltage regulator. So these wires are for the voltage regulator. The black one kind of seems out of place, but anyways, those are going back and feeding this terminal here. You got to have another wire nut, because you got to have wire nuts every 6 to 8 inches if you want to follow code. So we've got this wire that comes down here, and then it splits to these wires. Wait a minute, hold on. So those two wires here get fed to this one red wire, and then across the red wire and the black wire is our high-tech fuse. So that ain't gonna do it. I mean, it works, but I can't believe somebody went through the trouble to actually solder that on. I mean, if it was me and I was gonna go and use wire nuts and speaker wire, I just wouldn't have even used the fuse, but whatever. I'll get that all straightened out. I've got a bunch of wiring to straighten out. You can see that as I was doing the alternator, I was struggling trying to chase the wires, and I found out that this blue wire is actually a wire that turns into a green wire. And I thought that was weird because I didn't see a green wire near the voltage regulator. But then if you come over and you look at this section, you can see that green wire then turns back into a blue wire, and then the blue wire goes to the voltage regulator. So yeah, fun stuff. Next, I am getting ready to change out this distributor, the points, and get rid of that and the coil and go with a electronic ignition. And I've already loosened the cap, and I've actually got this in a good spot. I didn't even bump it or anything. And the rotor is pointing like directly forward. So that's all I gotta do when I install the new one, is make sure that's pointing the same spot. It's pointing almost to this plug, and I kind of scraped on the cap to show that that's where it's pointing. And I'm gonna take this apart and see if I can put the new one in and see if it still runs when I'm done. So right now I'm just loosening up the little clamp that holds the distributor in. Pull that out of the way. Keep it slotted. Yep. Okay. Let's see if this bad boy wants to come out of there. You can see how much it turned, the rotor, because it's the gears are angled. So I'm gonna want the rotor on the new one pointing in about this direction, because you can see that that's kind of where it came out to be when it disengaged. So that's out. Let me grab the new one. We'll slap it in. So here's the new one. And I think I want this right about like that. We'll just get the clamp on it. We'll just snug it. We're not going to tighten it because I'm probably going to change the advance a little bit. And we've got our new cap. It's got the coil built into it. It's already on it. Goes. Now, I'm just going to move all the wires from this cap to that cap, starting with this first one that I have marked. And then after this is all done, I'll put the new wires on one by one. But just to see if we've got this right. It's a good thing I have new wires because these ones don't really go on here correctly. They're made for opposite connection where they actually go into the cap, not sit on it. We'll just get them set on there for now. So we get those all sitting there. So I got the new wires here, and luckily they have the right ends on them. And my guess, it has less to do with luck and more to do with my father already knew they were different, which might be why he got these to begin with. Never did attach the cap. Now would be a good time to do that. Well, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this wire set was for a V6. Either that, it's just a mistake, because it had a coil wire for one, and then it's short a plug wire. So that would make 6 plug wires that it had with it and a coil wire. But I used the coil wire for one of the plugs, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave one of the old wires just to test. I'll crimp it down a little bit so it fits a little bit more snug. And I'm gonna plug in power to it and we'll see what happens. See if I can squeeze that a little. That should be okay. And my thought was I could take this wire from the ballast resistor, which should just be ignition power, and plug it right in to the bottom of this. All right, I'm gonna go try to start it. Hopefully nothing explodes and destroys my phone. Look at that, first try, started right up. Perfect. That's awesome. Just advanced it a little bit. Now that I've advanced it, I'm gonna just shut it off and see if it still starts without binding. What I usually do is I will advance them until they begin to bind and then back it off a hair. You can use timing lights and all that stuff, but you don't want it binding when you're trying to start, but you want to get as close to that as you can because that's where all your power is. So I don't have the vacuum advanced hooked up yet either. That's not too far advanced. Well, I talked a little bit more about advancing the time, and I advanced it a little bit more. It sounds great, it's running fantastic. My phone, for some reason, stopped recording in the middle of it, but anyways, let's go over what's been done today and where we're at. So the electronic ignition is all connected, running. I haven't put the vacuum advance on yet, but that's not a big deal. I've got the alternator all installed and it's charging now. Yeah, so it was a pretty good day. I think that's gonna probably do it for this video, but I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be making a whole lot more videos of me fixing this old girl up, so check back. Thanks for watching.